Hello Virgo, my name is Kat. Welcome to Kat Tarot. And Steffi so far didn't make any appearance on channel today. I guess it's a deep sleep, but you never know. Maybe she's going to come and grace her little furry butt and kind of tell us all what we really need to know. So how it's going to work this time? First part is going to be that I'm going to do the January forecast, and the second part is going to be the overview for 2021. I'm also going to send a numerological overview for 2021 via my mailing list. So if you haven't already subscribed to my mailing list, please do. The link is the very first one in my description. So let's start, Virgo. What we see here is consequences. And this is like one of those things, right? Like where maybe we go tangle ourselves up into something and we just really need to get out of it. I need to see more cards to get a full thing. And Seven of Sky. I don't know if there's like somebody doing it to you, or just like, look, he's grabbing the little mousey that was like, bird in hand if you wish, because there was like distraction. So maybe that's his mousey, and now he found kind of like ability to kind of like get it, claim it back. Or maybe simply it isn't, and now basically this is a treacherous friend if you wish. So when this card shows up, it's always guaranteed to straighten the wrongs and to make things right. And to make things right, not in the absolute, I guess, devastation of whoever kind of like crossed you, but rather in how things need to be, like what the universe kind of like sees in them, right? Because we take things personally, and really they need to kind of like be absorbed from a completely different side. I also feel there maybe has been, and look at it, like air. It could be some words, it could be some possible jealousy, it could be some pointing fingers, or maybe this is just about to happen of some sort. So be very careful of kind of like, you need to watch your back. Let's put it kind of like lightly over there. And this simply means, especially if you guys are going through divorce or going through some kind of like really big life change, that maybe contracts are involved or possibly governmental systems, you make sure that you do everything right, because somebody is going to probably try to pretend to be a victim while they're taking things away from you. So that's something to keep in mind. So then we have the Emperor, and I really think this is really telling me about more or less 2020 and the foundation that you have managed to kind of like develop as a result of this treacherous year, right? So you are the healer of the zodiac, and he is the one who is also looking everything very analytically, right? Kind of like from the outside, this needs to be done, and I'm putting my emotions on the side about that. So because you're the healer, you probably were at the forefront of everything, that people would come to you. You're the one who is resourceful. You're the one who had to kind of like do things in some kind of like meaningful way, right? But needless to say, even with that, it looks like that you spread yourself too thin, and that maybe you got really too consumed with others and kind of like forgetting to take care of yourself, right? So it's been a rough time for you, I believe, 2020. So you really need to give yourself a break. Your ruler is Mercury, which most people don't know. They always connect Mercury to Gemini. And Mercury this month is doing two things. One is transitioning to Aquarius on January the 8th. And two is going retrograde on January the 30th. So for you, I think your entire summary so far is telling me that you really need to heal yourself. You need to be well rested before this Mercury retrograde starts to happen. So this is it. This is really talking about the past. It's talking about kind of like dealing with people who are very different, and kind of like really opening your big heart and understanding like kind of like how everybody basically has the same goal, to be happy and to be accepted. And it was like, big, great awakening for you. Maybe you had to kind of like be a part of the structure, and the structure maybe was a little bit constraining. Maybe there were really strict rules, and you had to go and kind of like really figure out how to kind of like really work within kind of like that, I guess, those walls, those constraints, right? So maybe you also have been in a very close circle, which most of us have been during 2020, where you kind of like maybe what regularly you wouldn't see, maybe not, maybe you wouldn't spend enough time throughout your lifetime, you kind of like started to see different textures and different attitudes of the people who were close to you, and you started to really also understand from maybe input from the outside and people who were complete strangers, how your own inner world also needs to change. You have demon cat, other than maybe in Capricorn and kind of like really jumping their bones like day and night. This also can talk about exes and can talk about third party involvement. It can talk about somebody offering you easy solutions, but easy solutions are not permanent solutions, right? So look at it. You have the three major arcanas on this vertical thing, what you need to strive with, kind of like this temptation and kind of like lure standing on the top. It's almost like dominating you. So there's like still something in your life, and this simply could mean that you maybe gain weight, that you're not feeling healthy yourself, and of course you're obviously worn out. And that's why I'm saying you're going to suffer consequences if you don't turn things around and start putting yourself as a central figure this particular month. You need to be this emperor. You need to be sort of like the master of your own domain, if you wish, but you'll be challenged. You might even have some, if you guys are looking for somebody special, maybe you have already met this person. This person is very different from you. It's very different lifestyle or even comprehension of life from yours. Maybe it's way more lucrative kind of like lifestyle that you have, and maybe you're kind of like misguided going in that direction. Or maybe you have a couple of people also that are kind of like sniffing around you and just kind of like want to get their share. So make sure that you choose somebody who is more innocent, because somebody is going to appear really well put together, very slick, while the other person is going to be almost like without a care in the world, having almost like childlike innocence, this pure heart as they call. So it's going to be your call to kind of like really establish this equilibrium here. Woo, you have also the Empress. And this could be meeting of the mind. It could be kind of like meeting somebody. This guys can also mean marriage. This guys can also mean proposal. This guys can also mean kind of like things are going right. Things are kind of like really working really well. This can be like really kind of like good things that kind of can happen over here. The Empress and the Emperor talk about a couplehood, and it could be like kind of like these like two energies that are kind of like meeting each other. It could be also dedication to your family. It could be dedication to the kids if you have them, and while knowing that somebody else is taking care of you, or that things are going to be taken care of. So maybe this is kind of like temptation that comes your way, and it's a way of you kind of like getting the steam out because you're worn out, and we are worn out. It's just like, oh, give me the water, and somebody gives you a freaking pop, or you call it soda in the US, right? And you drink this, and this is not quenching. It's actually damaging you. So don't kind of like get somebody to sidetrack you here in the situation. That's right. And you're getting the Chariot in your own house. It's telling you you need to move forward. It's time to set the new goals. It's time to set new processes. And where do you really want to be? This could be also your own vision of what a partnership should look like. Look at both the Emperor, not queens and kings, but the Emperor and the Empress are coming through, right? And telling like, look, sometimes there is a price of being in some kind of like really strong relationship. Also, this month is when Venus goes to Capricorn. It's going to be on the same day that Mercury goes in Aquarius, January 8th. And this is when we start realizing that we need to pay attention to relationship, that maybe we finally realize what needs this repair. Maybe some people will enter into therapy, or it's going to be simply kind of like a communication that will really need to happen. Maybe somebody's going to say, well, I just simply need more sex, kind of like try to come up with some really easy solution that you know, it's not the core of the issue. Sex is manifestation of our inner emotions, and sometimes when sex is not great in a relationship, it is because relationship first needs to be repaired. And here is like this kind of like momentum of moving forward. This also could mean kind of like going toward what you really want. For single people out there, it's like setting your mind up and going in a new direction. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcanas already, and this is huge. It means that January is going to set the stage for you for a very, very strong impact, because almost like as if you are not necessarily in control, somebody else is in charge, universe, God, whatever you really believe it. There is another major arcana, the wheel. So this is your environment. This is what's coming your way. You will get any needed help. You will, something is going to come through. Could be somebody coming through. That somebody could be Sagittarius. You have lots of signs. You have Capricorn, you have Aries, you have Cancer, you have Taurus, you have Libra, and you have Sagittarius so far, right? That I'm seeing over here. So I don't know if you already have these kind of like people in your life. That could be like the influence they're going to have. And it's going to be really positive one over here. There's like kind of talking about somebody who is now able to kind of like have a good confidence and to maybe approach you and to maybe even offer solutions. But this is an environment which means stepping out of your own inner circle out is going to bring you good luck. It means, that could mean a good job. This is Jupiter, and Jupiter is right now in Aquarius. So it can really talk about a little bit out of the box solutions. And maybe initially, because you're Virgo, you kind of like want to see these details. You want to see that things are really done properly. And you're kind of like the ones who are kind of like putting all the dots on the I's and crossing all your T's, because you know this is really, really important, right? But this is somebody saying, okay, wait a minute. Sometimes you're getting yourself stuck in analysis paralysis. It is really time to move. And that movement is going to be really beneficial for you. This is in your home of hopes and fears, and you're having Sky Kitten. And this is really talking about kind of looking up, having new hopes, having new studies, possibly, kind of like new knowledge, new ways of looking at it. If nothing else, possibly that's something that kind of like start to bog you down, and looks like you enter this month with kind of conflicting feelings. There were some really good parts, but there were some really bad parts. And as much as you try to let this good surface, like there are like still some parts that kind of like they didn't really fester, but they have been present, and you kind of really didn't like the taste of that in your own mouth. So you really had to deal with things, maybe simple realization, oh gosh, you know, I have to, you know, I mean, I worked all my life for a living, and now I need help and nobody's there to help me, right? Or looking for an easy solutions out, which this is not you. You really had to go back to your programming and all the things that really worked for you over the time. And then Nine of Fire. It looks like that you're really pulling yourself this month, and you're saying, okay, let me see what the other people say. You might be consulting your friends. You might be consulting your inner circle, people who are important to you. It can talk about therapy. And however, everything that you do in terms of kind of like self-healing, of self-oriented, is going to be really interesting, because you kind of like are really clear in your head that you don't want to do this, you know, repair or some things that are going to be broken forever. This is it. You kind of like are saying, okay, one more chance, and let's see how it goes. And just that chance might be all that you need, because that's why you have this Wheel of Fortune, a karma card here showing up. So you have 2 karma cards that showed in a very short reading, and look at how many more cards I have, and there are basically only 4 in this entire deck. So okay, Virgos, let's see now what your 2020 brings, because usually January is almost like a dawn of that new day that kind of like gives us the whiff of what we can expect. So let's see what more we can get over here. So this deck I always interpret upright, so let's see that for my Virgos for 2021. Short overview. See, this one flicked, but I'm not looking at the flickers, but I'll have to, because this one is the Fool, and it's talking about this new beginning. It's talking about this taking leap of faith. So it's telling me, I guess, to stop shuffling and to do this. So we have the Fool, major arcana. Then you have innocence, major arcana. Then you have clinging to the past. That's the problem. That's that thing that I picked up, that I told you, the tumulus part, or something not really sitting well, right? And then you have aloneness, but this is your card. This is the Hermit. So you have 3 major arcanas. You can see how vivid and how important this entire year will be. The Fool is basically promise to yourself. You're going to say, you know what, I really need to kind of like figure out a different path, a different way. Kind of like, I want to strive towards something else. I mean, this is like a freaking fantastic card. He's descending. He's like, in the other cards, he's standing on the edge of the cliff. But here he is almost, he's jumping off the cliff. He's having his flower. As you can say, he doesn't have a single worry in the world, right? So this is like really happening. So Fool is one of those things that is really telling you, it's representing God, it's representing Uranus descending on Gaia, and that's Uranus is the father sky and Gaia is Mother Earth, and that's basically they had babies, and the rest of us are part of that basically family line, right? So this is kind of like talking about moment to moment, leaving the past behind. It's like time, something, and just remember this was also your jumper, right? So this card indicates that you need to trust your intuition, right? The feeling what is the right thing to do, right? And you're not going to go wrong if you trust those feelings, right? So sometimes you're going to ask yourself, hey, wait a minute, this is freaking foolish. What am I doing? It might even be the basically feedback that you get from the others, but this is where this traditional part, you're trying to analyze things, you know, is not going to really work. You will really need to trust yourself. You will need to kind of like go in this new direction. So it's kind of like a card that is named 0. It's kind of like that infinity, right? So this 0 place, if you wish, that is occupied by the Fool, is kind of like that number that came after, that is like number less number, right? So we had minus, we had a plus. Somebody said no, it has to be that kind of like tension point in the middle. But this is the number where trust and innocence are the guides, and skepticism and past experience has to stay behind us. So it is really, really important. And then you're getting to innocence, which is 19, and 1 and 9 is 10, and 1 and 0 is 1. So as you can see, there is a motion forward over here. And look at what the lovely card here is. This old man kind of like, almost like has a delight in kind of like looking at him, right? So he's having this almost like a playful kind of like moment with this, I think this is a praying mantis on his finger, almost as if, hey, they are friends, they're saying hi to each other, right? And, you know, it's kind of like also these, is it wisteria, those pink flowers that we are seeing here, represent also kind of like letting go. So maybe you wanted to be always the responsible one, the one who cares for everybody else, and it was like your big pride and joy. And I'm not saying to you to go and be irresponsible, not at all. I'm actually clear saying that, you know, you kind of like certain qualities of yours have to come to the surface, but they don't need to be necessarily applied, right? So if you're reliable, you don't have to be always reliable to the others and almost like control them through that, and yet they are not never reliable. So you're always the parent in a relationship and they're always a child, right? So this is kind of like allowing you to exercise your own freedom. This is like your ability to feel that lightness and that innocence. And this is going to come to you through that deep experience in life. It's almost like kind of like a childlike, but not childish, right? Because that's why we adore children. They're like, they say the darndest things kind of a thing, right? And you know, like this kind of like belief and the innocence is going to kind of like really be almost like the name of the day. Whenever you doubt it, you're going to, whenever you go in the past, you're going to realize the doors are closed. Look at that. This is kind of like she cannot see the exit. Everything is like stuck over there, clinging to the past. Things are kind of like really working in some kind of different universe. So what has been, it has been. You are moving forward over here, right? So this is kind of like, maybe the process that you had was for you maybe threatening. Maybe you felt, that there are some kind of like dangers in life, that you have to kind of like be safe and secure all the time. And this is going to change, but not without challenge. You're going to have, and that's why you have this clinging of the past kind of like card over here. Look at how beautiful it is outside. But you go into your own head, into your own world, and you kind of like get lost over there. And that kind of like is maybe a possibility of you being shaken up for one reason or the other, right? And you really need to kind of like really deal with this with basically head on. So head on is basically head out in the situation, that you really need to take your head out of whatever this is. Some contraption here with, what is this? Everything that has been said. It's almost like that you have a little computer that is going on, being preoccupied with the memories, and almost like something that is nostalgia that is holding you back, right? So it is kind of like time that the year is going to start so well for you. It's going to start taking in direction. At one point you're going to reach this dam, right? And almost is going to feel that you retrograded entirely to whatever it was, and kind of like, how did I find myself here? So you'll just really need to take a deep breath. You're going to put this freaking box down, this nostalgia down, and if you really want to, how they say when I do hypnosis on my clients, it's just like simply ask them to put all the troubles in the box. I carry them, I guide them to go in the basement, to open the box, and all the problems, all of these bad experiences, just put it in. Then close the box, put the key in, lock it, and put even the pretty ribbon on the top. Because even though you're locking away things that you don't want anymore, these things were part of you. And I always want you to know that you need to cherish those parts, and you need to kind of like understand this is like also what kind of like made you. So, tell them farewell. Life is passing you by, and you're going to be in a danger of becoming an old fossil before your time. So you're going to reach this like huge realization of kind of like concepts that are going around you, that maybe by you being sturdy and fixture in somebody else's life and being there for them, that your life is not going in a good direction. And I think this is it. You're kind of deciding to move forward. This is like you're stepping in your own shoes, right? This is really interesting card because, when there is like no significant other in our lives, people talk about, oh, well, you must be lonely, right? But you also can be alone and enjoy the freedom that the solitude brings, right? So this is kind of like also following our own truth and kind of like shedding being isolated and bitter, instead celebrating that we are really strong enough, we are powerful. He's like going into unknown. Look at this. It's almost like the fool that had it here. He's going into his own things. The only thing the fool is during the day, and this is during the night, right? And this is really talking about this humble figure that with the light that kind of like emanates from within. So he is that light. You are that healer. But you have been kind of like spreading this around to people who, look, everybody needs to be healed. When you're a healer, you're going to get lots of people coming to you who are just needing kind of like that light to penetrate them. Once they get it, the fix is done and they're gone, right? So there's like the codependency with the wounded bird syndrome, right? Which is really telling you like this is what's going to happen. And this is not to say excuse me, don't help them. This is rather to say help them, but don't forget about yourself. You come first. So be a light unto yourself, right? So you need to develop within yourself the capacity to make your way through darkness. This is your sign. This is your mission in life. It's really, really important, right? So if you fall into this kind of things, that you're thinking about the past and that you may be feeling lonely, that you are missing somebody else, this is a negative state, right? you almost like feel that you'll be better off being in that state. But instead, it kind of like really, the loneliness is absence of something else or somebody else, and aloneness is the presence of oneself. So loneliness is extremely positive, and I guess you guys all know about the Hermit card. You know it. If that was another sign, I would really have to go in long and minuscule explanations. So it's very, very important that you feel the universe with your presence, because we need more Virgos. We need that healing and gentle attitude that is really coming through. So you're coming and stepping in your big shoes, and just remember, whenever you go down the memory lane, so it's going to be Mercury retrogrades, as I said, you need to be well rested because you're going to be challenged. Just remember, this is just kind of like somebody trying to take you off your course. You need and you deserve better. And let me see also Lenormand. I'll be also offering full Lenormand readings because there is an interest for it. It's a really interesting kind of like forecasting concept. So here, the Fool and the Dog. You need to kind of like have loyalty to yourself, and you're going to find chosen ones. Maybe you're going to have a companion on the way. Innocence card also talks about possibly children, and can also talk about a unity of some sort, right? Where you allow certain people in your inner circle, but you're not necessarily taking everybody in. And this is the same freaking card, because this is the Sun in the regular deck, and now you have the Sun. So just reinforcing what I said, it's kind of like going back to the concept that I have explained to you, that you need to allow your heart to be free and unencumbered of crap. Yes, coming back to, oh my gosh, I loved, will I love again, what will happen? This is not going to take you anywhere other than into the place of negativity. So you will need to have strength in your heart when you kind of like lose yourself in melancholy or possible depression, that you can like pinch yourself and say, no, I need to move forward. I need to go in a different direction. So journaling is going to be helping you this year, as it's going to be a breakthrough year for you. So it's going to be okay to kind of like put all your thoughts, because after all, if you find yourself in the situation, you'll be able to see and read how energized and how fulfilled you felt when you were following your own path and you were trusting your own path. So Virgos, let me get one more card for you, which is your Oracle card. And I think this one wanted to come through, and you're getting a Spirit of Place reversed. So let's see, what is this all about? So this is what it says. Do not get entangled in details, which is basically who you are. You like those details, but this is what it says. Don't get entangled in details or desires that obscure the truth of your situation. So step back and ask yourself, what is the real nature that I really want to have and experience? Even exquisitively seductive hidden agendas cannot conceal this. You need to trust your intuition. There it is. Trust your intuition, trust your intuition, trust your intuition. It's repetition. The Spirit of Place is whispering in your ear. You hold the power to tell the truth, but first to yourself and then to the world. You can always distinguish between an essence that is true and one that is synthetic. Be honest with yourself and remain willing to let your situation be revealed for what really is, and not what you want and what you want it to be. An apple cannot become an orange, just as a dog can never be a bird. Are you trying to change someone or something to suit your agenda? Or somebody's trying to change you? Only when you see things as they truly are, you will find the real treasure. So guys, don't fall for sweet talking this year. You need to be authentic. You need to see that this really feels that you're not having an extra effort in things, because look, this is hopefulness, and this is effortless, and this is like a massive effort. So don't get lured into things that are not going to be beneficial for you, and you're going to do very, very well. So my dear Virgo, Thank you very much for your patronage. If you're an old subscriber, if you did get some messages for you, I'm glad. It means that you probably should subscribe and press this bell button so you can get notification. Make sure you check also your sun, moon, and ascendant sign. If you want your private reading, contact me via cattarot.ca. If you want your personal annual reading, this is discounted this year at $195, which is regular $230. It's pandemic, so I'm just trying to be conscientious that we all kind of like need to kind of like work within our budget. But if you're a new client, you will need to wait for those readings because I'm first allowing my old clients to get them, and I'm clearing through that workload. Leslie would love to hear from you guys. I wish you a happy new year, many blessings in the new year. Looks like you won't have it. Just like when you go down this rabbit hole, just don't get lost. Make sure that you pinch yourself and remember that you have a different path to follow. I love you, Virgo. All the best, and namaste.